Maggie. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Thanks so much for inviting me out here to talk with you today. Before we get started, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm currently a PhD student in the University of Michigan in the mechanical engineering department. I work with bio-inspired robotics, so I'm both kind of in the joints of mechanical engineering, biology, and robotics here.
Wow, that's fascinating. So I think you're here to ask me some questions today, right?
Yeah, I am.
So let's get started.
So you're just starting your second year here as Dean at Michigan Engineering, but you've been a professor for mechanical engineering and aerospace engineering for more than 30 years. What advice do you have for students entering or returning to campus this fall?
So that's a great question, Maggie. So I think maybe the one piece of advice I would give is to make sure you really make use of the resources around you, including people. So I know it can be kind of challenging to walk into a professor's office and ask for help, but I encourage our students to do that because our faculty and our staff are here to really support the students. Also, please get to know your student colleagues because these people will go on to do big things, and so it's important to get to know who you can network with.
Great. What is the best practical tip you've learned about Michigan Engineering or North Campus?
So one of the things I learned was stay away from the turkeys. Okay? I mean, they're everywhere, they're aggressive, but they're super fun to watch, and they're beautiful animals, but stay away.
So what are some of your responsibilities as Dean, and what are some of your biggest priorities?
Tough question to answer, to be honest, but I'll say that really my primary role is to work on strategic directions for the college. Sometimes I have to make hard decisions, which is really, kind of a challenge, and have to make those decisions based on external pressures. But I also need to think about, like, how do we move forward? How do we innovate our educational programs in particular? So one of the things that we're talking about is how do we integrate AI into our classes so our students are prepared to work and apply AI principles in their particular majors. The other thing, we're having some pretty deep discussions about student well-being and success, academic success in particular.
We talk a lot about success, but it's also interesting to talk about failure and what we learn from these experiences. What do you consider to be your most epic failure, and what did you learn?
So first of all, I want to say that, I believe I learn more from my failures and mistakes than I do from my successes. I'm an experimentalist, and I failed often in putting experiments together. So my most epic one, which I don't share with a lot of people, of course I'm on film right now, but I will. The most epic one was when I went back to do my graduate work at the University of Texas. I had to take the PhD qualifying exam, as most students do. I failed. It was hard. It was really hard. I was going to go off and be a lawyer, go to law school, do something else, right? So what happened is a very famous professor at the University of Texas who was in the National Academy called me into his office, sat me down and said, okay, you failed the qualifying exam. So what? He says, I'm going to tell you a secret. I failed the qualifying exam. Get back out there and do it again. And so I did. And I learned a lot from that.
I didn't know that, so it's a really good one. So you've talked about the importance of academic success and well-being. What are some examples of ways that students can find this support?
We're really having some deep discussions on what does well-being mean. You can look at so many different aspects, so many different dimensions. So we're thinking about financial well-being, physical well-being, things like our students have food, because it's really tough to study when you're hungry. We have a great care center that takes care of our students. We're going to increase the capacity that we have with our tutoring programs, our mentoring, and our coaching programs for students. We are trying to make this easier and easier for students to find these resources through newsletters, websites, through announcements, and then we're going to learn what else is important to students as we go along this year in terms of putting more resources there.
So what are some things that students should look forward to in this fall?
We have a lot of things planned for this fall, early in August and September, but we have Embark, and the Grove here is going to be filled with academic departments and different student orgs, free food, lots of games, and come out, and be a part of the North Campus community, which I think will be fun. The next big event is the career fair. I don't want students to forget to look for internships and jobs and so forth. And then we have the Immerse Fair, where students can come out and learn from advisors how to be engaged and all of the resources that we offer. So those are a couple of events that I think students should be on the lookout for.
Great.
Maggie, I know you've been asking all the questions, but I got to ask you one question. What's a tip that you have for the students coming back?
Yeah, so I think my biggest tip is that all the buildings around the Grove are all connected. So especially during the winters where it's super harsh, you should be able to get from one building to the other inside, some way through some channels of hallways in the buildings.
Well, maybe you can teach that to me.
Where is your favorite spot on North Campus?
Oh, that's kind of a hard question, Maggie. I'm gonna have to give you several, all right? So this summer, I got to tour for the first time the Lineweber building right behind us. Brand new building, opening up this fall for computer science and engineering. And we also welcome new partners to campus. The School of Information will be here as well. The other place that's just beaming with excitement, I just feel so energized when I walk in there, is the Wilson Student Center. Everybody's busy working on their projects and so excited about the competitions. And then last but not least, we are lucky enough to be on North Campus. And it is gorgeous, walking through the woods to another building, and it's so nice and peaceful to be out on North Campus.
Well, that's all the questions I have. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today about Michigan engineering.
And thank you, Maggie. Thanks for coming out and spending a little time with me here and asking the questions. And you know, I really wish you the best of luck on your research this year. I hope you do great things. I can't wait to see what you do.
Thank you so much.